Terrified clones of our former selves. Look at what they've done to you. Look at us now, we're the future. Terrified clones of our former selves. Look at what they've done to you. They promised us heaven and gave us hell. There's no hope in the mainframe. Sidestep death for a lonely cell. Tell me, was it worth it?
Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build, this time an Arcanist, an amazing reflection build. Watch your enemies kill themselves, it's the best. Let's take a look at the stat screen on the sword and board bar. Look at the recoveries first. Magic recovery over 3,000, stamina over 4,400. The max health is 44,000, and the resistances will be well over 40k with the Bloodspawn monster set proc. On the two-handed front bar, we're still looking great defensively, but offensively, almost 5k penetration, 31, almost 32% crit, and 3,700. We could get that to 4,000 if you wanted to, weapon damage. But we do more than just statistical offense there to deal damage. The more damage the enemy deals to us, the more we deal back to them. The food was the smoked bear haunch. We want the max health and all the recoveries that go with it. The serpent is our Mundus. We need all that stam recovery, and we are a vampire, keeping it at stage 3 for the extra damage mitigation that's going to factor in really well with damage shields and certain things. We'll get into that later. But I seriously can't wait to break down the details of this build for you guys. It's been fine-tuned extensively, even the health. It's everything's in a sweet spot. And I actually had a couple of messages telling me, hey, if you're going to build a reflection build, you got to get your max health higher and all this stuff. Listen, okay, so the tooltips of some things will go up, but that's not all that matters. Are you going to survive long enough to deal that damage back? And there's just a lot more to it. Skills that we use that will return damage, that mitigate damage, that require certain recoveries. And so we'll break this down. I got minor protection, major protection, and the vampire damage mitigation up to 33% while you're at stage 3. So 5 from minor, 10 from major, it's 15, and up to 33%. That's going to be up to 48% damage mitigation while not blocking and not even considering our resistances. So, which we'll get to that later. But we are Dark Elf. We want that extra max magicka and max stamina, almost 2,000 apiece there. We get the resist flame, so we get more flame resistance, which is going to help while being a vampire. You're supposed to be more susceptible to flame. And we get the the Ruination, which is the weapon and spell damage 258. So it's going to help us get that weapon and spell damage up offensively. Let's jump into the gear now. So this is such a good setup. The Master's Maul with a double dot poison, okay? Why the Master's Maul? Because the damage is multiplied by the enemies in the area, including your damage shield being multiplied. But increase the direct damage cleave deals by 1550 for each enemy in its cone. Now remember, this is kind of a tank roll at first, so a lot of people are going to be on you. The more, the merrier. I'm telling you, the way this build works, the more people around you, the more powerful you're going to be. And that's why you got to have more survivability, not just max health and high tooltips. There's more going on than just flat max health and tooltip statistics. But monster set, blood spawn, head and shoulders, heavy, both sturdy. Stamina recovery, and when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to generate 13 ultimate and increase your physical and spell resistance by almost 4,000. This is going to happen all the time because we're basically a tank until we're not and we turn that table. But also, our ultimate's key to dealing damage. One piece, Curious of the Trainee, it's reinforced for more resistance, 1,400 max health there. One piece, Druid Sash, light, 1,100, almost 1,200 max health there. So we got double dipping into one piece max healths, and we've got the Warrior Poet set for that minor toughness and some more resistance. If you're a Warden, obviously you don't need to worry about this set, but we're not. We're an Arcanist, so getting that minor toughness is going to really help our max health better than Plague Doctor, while also giving us resistances. So I like this set. There are a couple other sets I messed with, and you might think, why not Harbinger or Radiant Bastion? I'm telling you, this is the way to go after a lot of testing. The mythic item, Torque of Tonal Constancy, is almost imperative, I'd like to say, on this build. 450 magicka and stamina recovery when your pool is below 50%, and that's why we keep our max pools beneath 20k. It's easy to get there. With all those recoveries, we stay there. You could replace it with pearls for more ultimate gen, or if you wanted to be more offensive, you felt like you could handle the slow snare, Sea Serpent's Coil is good, but for me it's Torque of Tonal Constancy after a lot of testing. On the sword and board bar, by the way, was Asylum. This is imperative on this build. If you don't have it, go get it. Even just the normal. When you use defensive posture, absorb missile, one of those morphs, you're going to restore 2,200 max or magicka. If 6 seconds goes by and you don't reflect a projectile, you're going to restore over 6,000 magicka, which is insane. But it's a damage shield. It reflects a missile. Somebody could be chucking frags at you or fireballs at you or whatever. The spectral arrow from the Nightblade, it's going to go right back at him. Snipes. I love it. There's so much reflection on this build, and we'll go over that in the skills section here, which we're about to enter. First skill on the two-handed bar, Brawler. This is the one that works hand in hand with the Master's weapon. 4,400 physical damage in a cone in front of you. You get a damage shield almost up to 6,000, but both the damage and the damage shield are going to be increased for each enemy in the area, which is just insane. Again, the more the merrier. We have Camouflaged Hunter slotted for that Major Prophecy and Savagery for that weapon and spell crit, and also Minor Berserk that we get if we hit an enemy from the flank with a crit hit. So this is great to have this extra crit on our front bar only, where we're dealing more damage. So the next skill, Reconstructive Domain, costs magicka. You lay down a rune, and in that circle you're going to get minor courage, minor fortitude, minor intellect, and minor endurance. That's basically what, Oaken Soul will give you that, all those minors, but you get those 15% recoveries and minor courage for 258. Rune Guard of Freedom. Oh, also you're going to heal in that circle. Rune Guard of Freedom, Minor Resolve for 20 seconds, increasing our physical and spell resistance by 3,000. Minor Protection for 20 seconds, but the first time you are damaged while below half health, Minor Protection is consumed. You heal for 13,000 and you gain 3,000 armor, physical and spell resistance basically, and crowd control immunity for 6 seconds. Now the immunity can only happen every 30 seconds, but that 13,000 point heal will happen on repeat over and over again if you cast and spam like I'm doing here while below half health. It's a huge burst heal. Revealing Flare, we have this one slotted for the major protection. Really, that's it. 10% damage mitigation at all times. That with the minor protection and the vampire damage mitigation at stage 3 and the physical and spell resistance being 40k, there's a lot of damage mitigation, and our damage shields will take on our damage mitigation as well. For many of you who may not know that, your damage shields will copy your resistances and have resistances of their own. On the ultimate, it's Temporal Guard. You can restore your health, magicka, and stamina to what they were 4 seconds ago, including your location. So if you're in a big battle, you've seen me use it in the video, you round the corner, get out of line of sight or something, you cast that skill and you're back where you were 4 seconds ago with those resources. But also, while having it slotted, you have a minor protection at all times. Even if we consume the one that I mentioned is from our heal. Also, while having it slotted, when we block, we get a Sigic Order damage shield. Alright, first skill on the sword and board bar, Crux Weaver Armor. Physical and spell resistance by 6,000, major resolve and major ward for 30 seconds, but it's actually going to be plus another 2,000 for the Aegis of the Unseen passive, while a Soldier of Apocrypha ability is active. So it's 8,000 resistance, and they get minor breach when they attack you, reducing theirs by 3,000, just more like more pen. The next skill, a massive damage shield impervious rune ward, 31,000, almost 32,000 point damage shield right there as you see for 1 second, and when it falls off, you got a 19,000 point damage shield left over. But while this skill is active and then you take damage, you're going to reflect damage back. 5,000 damage was my tooltip, and it scales off the physical and spell resistance. Next skill, huge skill, defensive stance, almost a 16,000 point damage shield for 6 seconds, scales off of max health, but reflects the projectile at you. It could be a crystal frag or a snipe, but this is the one that pairs with Asylum. You get magicka back each time, or 6,000 if you don't get hit with the projectile. The next skill, Spiked Bone Shield. This is nuts, especially against jabs from a Templar, a 15,000 point damage shield for 6 seconds, which can stack. All these shields I'm going over can stack. But when you take damage from that, 100% of the damage you take, if it's direct damage, will be returned to the enemy. It adds up quick. This is why we have so much recovery. All these shields we have stacking, keeping ourselves alive, and reflecting damage. It's insane. Now, the last skill on that bar, Recuperative Treaties, is just slotted for major sorcery and brutality for 20% weapon and spell damage. Now, this ultimate, Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea, this is key on this build. 120,000 point damage shield scales off your max health, and when the shield collapses or the time expires, you deal damage around you over 10 seconds. It's every 2 seconds of a tick. This is what the shield looks like when it's on you. Now, I didn't take any damage because this is a dummy, but when it expires, like right now, you'd see a purple ring at my feet, and that is the AoE. You're going to deal damage to all the enemies around you. Every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. It's insane. And if you watch the PvP clips at the beginning of this video, it's orange numbers. It's damage over time numbers, and sometimes you'll see them up to 10, 11,000 per tick. Jumping into the CP now. The blue tree, Fighting Finesse, 8% critical damage and healing done at all times. Biting Aura, increase the damage done with area of effect attacks by 6%. That's going to apply to everything we're doing, from the Brawler, two-handed cleave, to our ultimate. Reaving Blows, when you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of the damage done. So we're a reflection build, so you can't go wrong with this. And the last one, Arcane Supremacy. Wanted to get that max magicka up a bit, 1,300. You could replace this with something else if you wanted to. Jumping into the red tree now, our defensive tree, Boundless Vitality. You got to have this. 1400 max health. So much of what we do scales off of max health, so getting that up is important. Fortified, increasing our resistance by 1700. That's going to matter a lot. All your damage shields will take on the resistance as well. Rejuvenation, a constant 90. Magicka health and stamina recovery at all times. You could replace that with Sustained by Suffering if you want. You get more bang for your buck, but you got to be effective with a disabling effect. And obviously, Bastion, 15% effectiveness to your damage shields and damage done to those with shields as well. But that's going to increase our ultimate immensely. So the 15% that you get from Bastion is going to add up to 25% when you pull up the Arcanist passive that increases. Where's it at here? I guess go ahead and take a look at these as well. But there's a passive as an Arcanist, increases your damage shields by 10% right here. So your damage shields are increased to strength by 10%. Add that to your 15 from Bastion. You got 25% increased damage shields. And that's imperative on this build. So that's going to wrap up the CP distribution and wrap up this build video. The Poet of Apocrypha Arcanist Reflection build. If you like this video and you want to see more, head on over to my channel. Check out the content on there. I've got builds of all types. Tanks, healers, damage dealers, all roles, stamina, magicka, and even some non-build related material like tips and tricks. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this build or what you would do differently. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Area of Effect, signing out.